Hi guys, it's Ray. Today we are going to test out this product. It is a duplicate product, but not really a duplicate product. This is the second generation of this type of product. So I'm going to open up the box. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try the new version, and I said yes. So, open this up. So what this is this is from Resiners, and this is the AirLess Lite. It is another bubble remover machine for your epoxy. And excuse the mess in my room, but this says Resiners, where art and technology meet. There are, I guess, a few differences between this one and the other one. This is available on Amazon. I will have a link below. There is currently on Amazon, for at least the US viewers, a $20 off code. And then I have an additional code that you can put in at checkout, which will give you 10% off. So don't mind that. So yeah, I don't know what that puts the final pricing at, but you know, if you didn't get one of the other ones, you may be interested in this one. This is just a Resiners card with all of their information, and I will put all of the links down below. Bubble remover machine. This has a QR code for instructions. And the user guide. So I'm sure it's pretty similar to the other one, but we'll see. Take this off. Their products are always packaged impeccably. Like, I'm just always impressed with their packaging. So this is the lid. So this is where the first differences start. It still has your seal. Whoops, I'm pulling the wrong side. It still has the seal to release the pressure when it's done. This has one button. You turn it on, let it do its thing. And then we have the unit itself, the power cord, packaging. Okay, so this has a grip at the bottom. So this one is not going to walk around on your table. I'm going to grab the other machine real quick, just so we can look at them for a side-by-side comparison. This just sits on top. You put your cup of epoxy in here, let it do its thing. We are going to do a project and test it out, but I'm going to grab the other one and just do a side-by-side comparison quick, since I have both of them sitting here. But your power cord plugs in the back. This is the most simple operation. You plug it in, make sure this is closed, put your epoxy in, and turn it on. So this is the original one. Color-wise, I like this mint better than the gray, but you know, whatever. So, and I do have a silicone bowl in here and a piece of silicone mat. So basically these two pieces are the same. as far as I can tell. But these are a little bit different. Functionality, totally different. This is much less complex. This one you've got, you know, push the buttons, pick your time, yada, yada, yada. So, so size-wise, really, they're the same. So that's good. That means whatever cups I've been using for the other one will be fine. If I want to continue using the silicone bowl, the mat was just overkill at that point, but I've actually been using a piece of silicone mat like this to sit it on, because my normal work surface is really slick. So mine does dance around a little bit. I feel like on this table I'm working on right now, it's very grippy. But the silicone bowl was just for my extra peace of mind in case my cup overflowed, because they do get foamy and rise. And you can see there's silicone in there, or epoxy in here, which means last time I used it, it did in fact bubble over. But this, I will probably continue to use. So what I'm going to do is go mix up my resin, and we're going to do a project, try this out. Okay, so I have 5 ounces of epoxy mixed up. This is plugged in. This is closed. So I'm going to open this up. I'm just going to set my cup inside. Hopefully my cup is fairly clean on the outside. And my cup is not flat, or the bottom of this is not flat. That's all right. So that'll be fine. Set the top on and push the button. And we're gonna let it do its thing. So while this is working for a minute, and hopefully you can hear me, what I'm going to do as a project is just going to be real quick. I have this mold that is, it's just a weekly planner. It's got all the days of the week listed down it. It says weekly planner at the top, and then it's got the days of the week. And then it just has a line for each day, and the bottom has a section for notes. I'm gonna mix the Alumilite white dye. I think a little bit of, you can hear it building pressure, and you can see the bubbles forming on the top, hopefully. But I'm gonna use the Alumilite white dye. And since I don't want pure white, but this is going to be a like a dry erase note board, I'm going to use like 2 drops of the aqua green. I'm going to go with Marabou alcohol ink for this one. And she's getting foamy. And I'm going to use, for another white ink, I'm going to use a tiny, tiny bit of the Pinata Blanco Blanco. It's amazing how much air is in your epoxy. It boggles my mind. So I'm just going to let this run. I don't know if you guys want a time lapse or not, but So I just finished reading the directions, and I don't actually think this is going to stop itself, because it says to observe the bubbles, which I am. I'm watching the clear line climb. But it says observe the bubbles and push the power button again when the bubbles are gone. So yeah, it's not going to stop itself. So I have to kind of keep an eye on my timing and my working time. I did try to warm my epoxy a little bit before I started. I probably should have done a better job of that, because it's a little cold today. So I'm actually going to stop this for a second, and then see if it deflates itself at all when I degas it, or when I'm going to undo the, I don't want to move this too much because I'm right to the top of the thing, but I'm going to flip that plastic thing and release the pressure. And it's all going to deflate on its own real quick. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and run it again for a little bit. My cup worked all the way to the edge, and it was spinning. I don't know if you caught that. And this got it about halfway clear in that amount of time. I do still have way more bubbles than I'd be comfortable working with. But again, it's cold. So I'm going to see if I can get this back to the center. My cup is just not flat. I'm going to put the lid back on again. I'm going to plug it again. And I'm going to give it a few more minutes. If it doesn't quite get all of them, it'll be okay, because I am going to put that little bit of alcohol ink in it, and the alcohol will help with more of the bubbles. But the machine does work. I mean, it's pulling a remarkable amount of bubbles for as cold as it is out. I just, warm epoxy makes less bubbles. That's all there is to it, and it's bitter cold. And I keep this room sealed off, generally speaking, so it's usually cooler in here, which is part of why I have not been working lately. I mean, the amount of bubbles left at the top of the clear part on the bottom is really all you should have when you mix your epoxy. Like, this is an absurd amount of bubbles. So what I'm going to do down here on the floor watching this, what I'm going to do is watch this for a little bit. I don't want to exceed my total working time. That's going to be the problem. But I'm going to watch it and see how close I can get it to the 5-ounce line. My cup is sitting so crooked right now. It's ridiculous. Problem, but that is my cup, not the machine, because the bases of these two machines are the same, and my other one doesn't do this. It's just this particular cup I grabbed. But I'm going to let it get as close to the 5-ounce line as I can. It's almost up to the 4 now. Okay, so I am closing in on the 4.5 ounce line. I'm going to go ahead and stop this and degas it, depressurize it, whatever, because I'm getting worried about timing and I need time to pour this project. So I am going to go ahead and stop this. I do want to grab a pair of gloves quick. I'm just about to that 4.5 ounce line. So when this drops, it's going to drop pretty far. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my inks and my pigment in. I do feel like because it's so cold, I would have been better off mixing my alcohol inks in first, because the alcohol would have removed a bunch of bubbles prior to even putting it in here. I probably would have held off on the white pigment till after it was done, but putting the alcohol in here would have probably saved a bunch of this. And maybe next time we'll do it that way, because I do have the full monthly calendar version of this mold as well. I just don't have room for both of them today. Whoa. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I'm going to pull that plug on the back. I didn't get it. Yeah, see, most of that dropped right back out. Okay, I am working on this little Walmart cutting board that I bought for a project I never actually used, because I did find this fits inside of the Resiners tumbler drying machine. Which is kind of handy, because I'm finding I can use the tumbler drying machine for molds, because I don't actually have an epoxy dryer. I'm gonna have to look and see if Resiners makes one. I mean, they must. If they have a tumbler dryer, why wouldn't they have a resin curing machine, right? So I can get this back in frame. So once that's settled out, and this is getting hot, I am definitely in the danger zone for a flash cure. So I'm going to put a couple drops of that in. Pour this, and if I didn't mix enough, and I have no idea how off level or on level this table is, so this could be bad. But if I didn't mix enough, I can always put a clear coat on the back. But this is just for like a minder board in my craft room. Ignore my mess. This is the tumbler drying machine. It's actually level that way. It'll be fine. So like I said, this cutting board just happens to fit pretty much exactly in this machine. I'm going to put this on. This is the cover. It's made to hold 2 tumblers, so it does have pretty large holes. But this you just turn on, and it like runs for an hour drying, and then it'll cool down and it'll shut itself off. So what I've been doing, if I'm putting a mold in here, and this is why I need an actual dryer one, is I've just been kind of setting a piece of paper or a box or something in front of it. Nothing fancy, but I'll come back and unmold this later on when this machine is done drying. Okay, so this just shut off. It ran its hour cycle and a little bit of cool down. This is still fairly soft, but I think we're still going to bring it over and unmold it, and I can flip it over so you can see it. And then I'll just let it dry flat face up on another surface. I have such a glare from my room light. I'm like trying to block it with myself, but all I'm going to do is flip this over on the piece of parchment that I had it on and see if I can demold it without actually touching it. Because it is very flexible because it is very, very warm still. And I'm not going to write on it today. I'm going to let it fully cure for a couple days. I'm not going to bother. Whoops, this corner might be a little soft yet. Alright. Again, it's just for me, so it's fine. I'm going to grab another piece of parchment paper quick. And just so I can flatten it back out. It's slightly misshapen now. That's my fault. I should have waited, but before I flipped it out, I did not see a single bubble on the back, and I do not see a single bubble on the front. All I see is a little bit of lint here and there. So, yeah, I am happy with this. I could go in and fill these in at some point with paint if I choose. I'm going to flip you back to me so we can look at the machine one more time and then sign off. Okay, so other than my mistaking thinking that this was a new addition, which it's not, and my thinking that it was automatically going to shut itself off at 10 or 15 minutes, which is actually better that you control your own shut off time in some ways. As long as you don't leave the room and like forget it's running and, you know, come back 2 hours later. But weight wise, size wise for storage, the AirLess Lite is virtually identical to the other one, other than this part slightly taller. But when I'm storing mine, I take the plug out and I put the plug inside the machine and I store it this way. Just because this part is a little bit shorter, so it takes up slightly less room and fits on the shelf it lives on that way. So, yeah, but super simple, one button. All it does is plug in, you plug the plug, and don't forget to unplug it before you try and open it, or you will be like tugging and tugging on it. And give it, it says it releases all of the air in about 10 seconds. And then it takes a couple more seconds before it finally releases enough to open it. Don't be prying it off. Let it have its little bit of time and do its thing. But again, Resiners AirLess Lite bubble remover machine. I will put, like I said, the link to Amazon down below. My extra coupon code I will put down below. And I think that's it. That's all I have to say about this one. It worked great. I love the one-touch start. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch the numbers on the other one and everything as the pressure or whatever builds. I don't even know what it's called. I don't think it's pressure. Let's just say pressure. Okay, I'm right. Because it's creating pressure and pushing the air out or something. I'm not a scientist. I probably just sounded really dumb, but that's okay. But like I said, impeccable packaging. I mean, if you order one of these and it comes broken, I would be shocked because, like I said, every single one of their products I've gotten so far has been fantastic. And if you have, because I haven't gone out and looked yet, I just have been busy today. If you have a Resiners epoxy curing machine, not the tumbler curing machine, let me know. And if there's more than one, let me know which one you have, because I'm definitely interested in one of those too, because that would be a game changer for me, especially in the tight time frame that I generally work in. So, and let me know if you have the original one and if you use it frequently and what you think of that one, because I'm always curious to know. But I definitely need to start using these more than I have been. Even for like my cups and stuff, if I would pre-plan a little bit, I could use it on that resin too. So that is it. Thank you, Resiners, for letting me test this version out. The next generation of bubble remover machine, the AirLess Lite. I like both machines equally. For the way I tend to work, they both seem to work one just as well as each other. It just depends on if you like to see more of the science behind the machine or if you just want something that's plug and play. This one's just plug and play. And while this one is plug and play, it just has a little bit more of a fun control to it. So, but functionality wise, they're both basically the same. So I enjoyed both and testing and product comparison. So that was cool, but that is it. And I will see you next time.